Wow. Nice crowd, huh?
Great crowd. You know, Donald, one thing I didn't say is that another thing that attracted me to you is I've gotten to know Mr. Trump over the last 4 years since he spoke at Liberty University. And there's some things about him that most people don't know that I found out on the sly. He didn't tell me any of this because he doesn't brag, but he...
See?
Well, he doesn't brag about the types of things I'm going to tell you. I'll give you some examples. His limousine broke down on a deserted highway outside New York. A couple stopped and helped him, and just out of the blue, a few days later, he paid off their mortgage. On another occasion, he learned about Clyde Frazier Jr., who was an African-American young man who operated something called a Harlem Hoops basketball tournament in the inner city New York, and he was killed in the 9/11 attacks. Mr. Trump sought out his family, searched for found his father, made the donation to keep that basketball tournament going, which was a great program for inner city youth. Nobody in the press ever talked about that. It was just something he did on his own.
Thank you, Joe.
He was watching 60 Minutes one night, and he saw where the Maytag plant was pulling out of Newton, Iowa, moving to Mexico, and he heard about 3 businesses that were going to lose their businesses because of that move, and he searched them out. He found ways for his hotels in Chicago to buy supplies from those businesses to keep the businesses in business, and there's story after story, like when he visited Liberty. Keep their business open. And there's story after story, like when he visited Liberty 4 years ago, I told him about a need at a large Christian ministry in another state, and found out a few days later that said Liberty University, politically incorrect, somebody not connected with Liberty. But in spite of his outspokenness, he was kind and generous, and he had a big heart, just like this man. And I've met many of his employees. They're loyal to him because he's treated them right. And I've met his 3 children, and they are just in awe and in love with their dad. And that says more about a man, I think, than almost anything else.
So nice. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. That's very nice. I appreciate it.
And so
I love you too. So nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, you can tell where I stand on Mr. Trump. And so those are just some of the things I wanted to share with you. And you know, at Liberty, like I told you, we spent all those years trying to turn it around. We're now one of the only 70 universities in the country that are rated AA or AAA by Standard & Poor's or Moody's. And the reason that was important to us is because we've seen so many universities who were founded on sound biblical principles in this country, many of the Ivy Leagues, for example, that strayed from their roots because they needed money. Donors came in and said, I'll give you the money if you'll change this, if you'll change that. We wanted to get Liberty to the point where if a donor came in and said, you got to put me on your board, you've got to change your founding principles, we wanted to be in a position where we could say, no thanks, keep your money. And so this man is the only candidate running for president who can make that same claim. He cannot be bought, and I love that about it. And so that's my introduction.
You're so nice, Jerry. And, I have to say, the job that Jerry has done at Liberty University is amazing. And I don't want to tell you this, but I have to, because we want to put the country in great shape fiscally, financially, and militarily, every other way. One of the things that I noticed the other day in looking over numbers, because I like to read numbers, I don't know. I'm looking at different colleges, and you're one of the most financially solid, most financially sound universities in the entire United States, with a tremendous endowment and tremendous amounts of money that can give for expansion. You don't have debt. You've done an amazing job, so I just want to congratulate you.
That's why I have to make it clear that it's not Liberty's endorsement, it's my personal endorsement, because the IRS would love to get their hands in that till.
They would, and they probably would. You're true. Great job you've done. Thank you.
Well, let's just discuss whatever is most important to you. I mean, what motivated you to run for president? You've got every reason in the world not to run, not to step out and to face that type of scrutiny and just the vicious every attacks that your family would have to endure, but you're doing it for your country. And I think it'd be good to hear your motivations.
Well, it is vicious. It's hard. I've always heard, Jerry, that over the years that if you're a very successful person, you can't run for office, especially for president. And I just said, I just saw what was happening with the country. I was just so disappointed. You look at what's going on. We have $19 trillion in debt. Now with this horrible deal that was made 2 weeks ago on the budget, we're going to pick up another $2 trillion. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy what's going on. You look at this horrible Iran deal where we paid $150 billion. We got nothing. We had the hostages, and then they went after our sailors, our 10 sailors, and they held them at gunpoint. They're sitting on their knees in a begging position. And you just see so many different things going on with the country. And, before that, you look at the border. Look at the border. We're going to build a wall, folks. We're going to build a wall. Look at that. We're going to build a wall. And I could do this. Now, who's going to pay for the wall? It's true. Actually, it's true. And I love Mexico, and I love the people of Mexico, but the leaders are too smart for our leaders, Jerry. And what's going on with trade deficits with Mexico and with China? I mean, China, you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars a year in deficits with China and Japan and everybody. Everybody is beating the United States. We used to win. We don't win anymore. We don't win. When was the last time? We don't win on trade. We don't win militarily. We don't beat ISIS. I shouldn't say this in front of Jerry because he's such a quality person, but he knows about winning as much as anybody. We will beat ISIS very quickly, folks. We can't let this go on. We can't let it go on. Can't let it go on.
And so many of our laborers in this country have dropped out of the workforce. They claim 5% unemployment, but I think it's more like 20, maybe more. I don't know. But it's just, there's so many people who have given up. How long will it take under your presidency to get those folks back to work?
It'll go quickly. We're going to bring jobs back from these countries that have just taken them away from us. They've taken away so many jobs by the millions. And I mean, Newton really was something, and this was long before I ever thought in terms of running. I saw 60 Minutes. You were talking about it, and I made some friends. I have some great friends in Newton. We helped some people out. They couldn't send their daughter to college, and another was have to close up. And I still do business with some of these firms, and they're great. They charge me too much money, but that's okay. But they do a great job. These are really great people, and they had tremendous problems. And not only Iowa, but you go up to New England and you see New Hampshire and some of the places where the business has just been drained out of our country. And we're going to bring those jobs back. We're going to bring them back big league. And, I look forward to the day where Apple, as an example, is making their machinery, whichever it is, whether it's the iPads or anything else, they're going to make them in this country. They're not going to make them in China. Why not? That's what we should be doing. So we're going to get it going back, Jerry. We're going to reverse it.
I saw President Obama negotiate with the mullahs in Iran, and the deal that he came back with was, I just can't imagine how different that deal would be if it had been Donald Trump negotiating that deal. And by the time you take office, they will have $150 billion. They're the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. what do we do about that?
So it was one of the worst deals I've ever seen negotiated of any type, not only just between countries, just the whole concept of the deal. We were so weak and so pathetic. They did not read the art of the deal, by the way, but so sad. We were being taunted. We were being laughed at. And Jerry and I were talking backstage. I love Fox. I think Fox is terrific, but Fox was taunting me a little bit. And I said, look, I'm not going to do I wanted to do the debate so badly. I'm not going to do the debate. I didn't do the debate. It didn't do well. I opened up something else. We raised $6 million in 1 hour. We were being taunted. We were being laughed at. And Jerry and I were talking backstage. I love Fox. I think Fox is terrific, but Fox was taunting me a little bit. And I said, look, I'm not going to do I wanted to do the debate so badly. I'm not going to do the debate. I didn't do the debate. It didn't do well. I opened up something else. We raised $6 million in 1 hour for the vets. And I was so proud of it. And you just can't let that happen. I mean, you have to stand on principle. And in the case of the Iran deal, the worst. And what we should have done is we should have, number one, never negotiated until we had our prisoners back 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, should have never done this. And the way you do it, I explained this to you. You walk in and you say, we have to have our prisoners back. And they'll say, well, we can't. I say, we have to have back. They'll say, no, you leave. Then you double up the sanctions. And within 48 hours, they will call you and they'll say, you take your prisoners. You got them. Okay. Then you have your prisoners. Once they land on U.S. soil, you go in for the second piece, and the rest you negotiate. You say, listen, we don't have the money. We can't give you $150 billion. We're going to give you nothing. They're going to get angry. You're going to leave. You're going to come back. Okay. And then you start negotiating the deal. Giving $150 billion, and Jerry, you've seen where that's been spent. They're buying Airbuses. They just ordered 118 Airbus planes. They didn't order Boeing. They're buying stuff all over Europe. Buying missiles from Russia. They're spending all of that money in every place but the United States. And then the worst, I mean, possibly the worst thing was about a week ago, I saw Secretary Kerry talking about the fact that essentially he's saying he expects some of that money to be spent on terror. You saw it. And I couldn't believe it. Did you see that? I mean, can you imagine? He said, no, I haven't seen it yet. But we expect that money will be spent on terror. I'm saying, then what did you make the deal for? So it was an incredible, horrible thing that I've never seen. And you know, if you think about it, one of the greatest deals I've ever seen. And then about 2 weeks ago, I started saying, but maybe the best deal is, you know what else they're getting? They're getting Iraq. And Iraq has the second largest oil reserves in the world. So they not only got the $150 billion, which is peanuts and a great deal, where they self-police. They have 24 days. Think of that one, Jerry. You have 24 days to say you're not building. And the clock doesn't start ticking for a long time, so it's much more than that. But in addition to that, forget that, the greatest deal maybe ever made. We knocked out Iraq, and they're going to take over Iraq. I mean, they've already essentially taken it over. Iraq doesn't do anything without them. So they're taking over Iraq with the second largest oil reserves. So if you look at it, they have Iraq, they're going to have Yemen, they're going to have Syria. And you know, when they have Yemen, they have that nice long border, that long, beautiful border along Saudi Arabia. That's where they want to go. They want to take over Saudi Arabia. So these people, they have done some dealing. And the problem that we have is we have a military. We guard everybody. Wealthy countries like Saudi Arabia before the oil problem, making $1 billion a day. Okay? We guard them for peanuts. Now, we'll take care of our friends, but they got to pay for it, folks. We can't continue to do this. We can't continue. Somebody's going to pay. Jerry would understand. They wouldn't be there for 2 weeks. They wouldn't be there right now if it weren't for us. So we guard everybody for nothing. I love South Korea. South Korea is great. I do a lot of business. Every time, unfortunately, I have to buy a television. We don't make them here anymore. So we used to have Zenith and RCA. Remember all the television? We don't have any television company. We don't have anything anymore. So when I bought 4,000 televisions not so long ago, and they come between Samsung and LG. They're all made in South Korea. South Korea is a behemoth. They are an economic behemoth. We get practically peanuts. We have 28,000 soldiers along the border between South Korea and North Korea, where you have the madmen talking about missiles. We got to be taken care of, folks. I don't want anything. I just want to be taken care of. We are not treated right. And then China, who have just stripped us. They have total power over North Korea. Total power. They don't say that because they're playing with us, okay? But they have total power over North Korea. They should stop this guy from doing the missiles and from testing his missiles, and they could close him up. Everything comes through China going to North Korea, right? But they say, well, we don't really have that much power. They're playing with us. We have to use, and we have tremendous power over China. People don't know that. The reason we have the power over China is because they put so much, they sell so much to us. And when you look at hundreds of billions in deficits, we have power over China. If we
$6 million, and I'd like them to come out
Great.
And receive the check.
So this is our first disbursement, and it's a good one because I hear they do a great job. Maybe a little description.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. We are the Puppy Jake Foundation. We started in 2013. All these dogs go to military veterans with PTSD and some mobility issues. So we truly... appreciate these funds, and with $100,000 we'll be able to raise 5 dogs, so we truly are honored to have this money.
Thank you, darling. Have a good time. Good time. Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, it's unbelievable to me, a presidential candidate on the campaign trail giving money away. I mean, it's just... My father gave away so many scholarships, he almost bankrupted our school because he wanted to help others, and my mom didn't even let him have the family checkbook because if she did, there wouldn't have been any money left to pay our bills. So that's another way that my father and Donald Trump remind me of each other, and it's just that's just something I just wanted to share that most people didn't see, and it's something I'm proud to support and proud to be part of. But thank you.
Well, thank you, Jerry. And I have to say that it was such a great evening, and Carl Icahn gave $500,000, and Phil Ruffin, a friend of mine, gave $1 million. He's an amazing guy. And Ike Perlmutter from Marvel gave $1 million. I mean, these are great people, great men, great business people, employ thousands and thousands of people, and they really did a great job. So I just want to thank those people and some others too.
You know, 60% of Republicans say that Republicans in Washington, D.C. have betrayed them. And that's what's caused the upheaval in the campaign, in my opinion. And I just want to hear your thoughts on that. How do we get them to do what they said they were going to do when they were running for office?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's an incredible thing, because I watch, whether it's in Iowa or any other place, people go and they get elected and they go to Congress and they're smart and they're tough and they're sharp and they're going to stop Obamacare and repeal it and replace it with something much better, and they're going to do all of these things. They're not going to let the Syrians come in. We have to help people out, but we don't know where these people, nobody knows anything about them, and you look at what's going on, and it's a horror show and all of these things, and then they get to Congress, but they don't do anything. And I always say they stand in the halls, those magnificent halls with the big marble columns and the angels on the ceiling, right? Mm-hmm. The beautiful, and they say, darling, we finally made it. And you know what? They raise their hand for Obamacare instead of repealing and replacing with something good. And they do all these things that they weren't supposed to do. And that won't happen with me, Jerry, I promise. Believe me. Not going to happen.
our local congressman in Lynchburg, Virginia, where I live, he came to hear you speak 2 weeks ago, and he shocked everybody by announcing after 3 terms in Congress, three two-year terms, he's going to quit because he told the Washington Post before he ran that he did not want it to become a career. He didn't want being a politician to become his primary career, and he had marvelous popularity, but he just walked away from it all because he sees how it all works. And if you look at our founding fathers, they envisioned a country that would be governed by citizen legislators, people who have been out in the private sector, who have accomplished something outside of government, not on a government paycheck. And I asked him to stand up today because I really just in the polls see a clear sign that the American people are ready to take the advice of our founders and Congressman Hurt, who just announced he's walking away, and elect a citizen legislator. That's just my personal opinion. I think it's what we need.
Well, I see it happening more and more. And one thing I have to say about Jerry's father, because he was great. He was a good gentleman, and Jerry loves him so much and talks about him so much, and just the respect. So Jerry's sort of seen all the candidates, and he knows all the candidates and all, and he says nice things about all of them, and he gets along with all of them, and that's why he's a man of faith. And maybe I'm a little bit not as good as he is in that way, but I'm pretty good, okay? But I have to tell you this. So Jerry was saying nice things about the various candidates. But with me, he said, you're the one that most reminds me of my father. And that was, to me, the finest compliment he could have given. But I got the best compliment of all. So I meant to tell you that.
Thank you. Well, we've had all the speakers come to Liberty, and it's unusual for a college president to endorse, but there's just so many. I just see our country at such a critical crossroads, and I think we need business leadership. I think we're at a point where we've tried the lawyers, we've tried the career politicians. We need a businessman. We're just at the point of bankruptcy, and it's. And I might have mentioned this earlier, but the intelligence community says that there's no question in their mind that ISIS will infiltrate the refugees that are coming here and going to Europe. And you were criticized for saying, hey, we need a temporary moratorium until we can figure out what's going on.
Did I take heat?
And I mean, you might just want to explain your position on that, because it's something that a lot of people feel very strongly about.
It's interesting. So this whole journey started, Jerry, on June 16th when I came down the escalator, and I said, in Trump Tower, and I just took a deep breath, because I've never done this before. I'm not a politician, and I guess I am now a little bit, but I refuse to say that. And I came down with my wife, and we came down, and I said, you know what, we have to do this, because it's just what's going on is so bad in our country, and you see it maybe as well as I do, as well as anybody. And I said, come on. And I took a deep breath. I went down, and it was like the Academy Awards in Trump. You never saw so many cameras. It was unbelievable. And I talked very strongly about illegal immigration, and it became a very important mainstay. And I took oh boy, did I go. I mean, I went into that, and I said, is it going to be like this for 6-7 months? Because nobody's ever seen anything like what I was going through with the press. Rush Limbaugh said he's received more incoming than any human being I've ever seen. And then it turned out I was right, because there was tremendous crime, tremendous problems, tremendous everything from all over. And it was hurting us economically, and it was like the border was just a sieve. People just coming in like ridiculous. And so what happened is we took a very strong stand on it. And everybody started coming to me, all the other candidates, and they all said, in fact, the other day I heard somebody say, we must build a wall. I said, where did that come from? My wife actually said, I won't even tell you who it was, but my wife said, darling, he just said build a wall. That's the first time I've heard that, and she watches every one of these things. And we have to build a wall. We need borders. You don't have a country without borders. And thank you. And and by the way, we want people to come into our country. We don't want to we want people. They have to come in legally. They have to come in legally. They go through a process, and they come in legally. So when a lot of things changed, because I was doing very well, the polls were really good and everything, then all of a sudden you had Paris. And there was a different thing happened. It was a strange event from so many different standpoints in terms of the psychology, because it's not of this country. And yet, if you look, and we have to protect our Second Amendment, because if you look at what happened in Paris, it's the toughest gun laws practically in the world. And it's also, Jerry, and you're really an expert of this because you're a believer in it, the toughest gun laws are France, and Paris are among the toughest, probably the toughest. So the bad guys can have guns, the good guys can't. So these thugs walked into various places and just started shooting people. And there were no guns on the other side. The bullets were going one way, not the other way. And if they were, somebody had protection. A few people, not all, a few people had protection. You would not have had 130 people dead. You wouldn't have had 130 people dead. And by the way, many, many people going to die from that. They're so horribly wounded and their lives are destroyed. And then a similar thing on a smaller level, horrible happened in California with the 14 people that were killed, other people hurt. And these were people who were radicalized and probably radicalized, nobody knows. But you say, something's going on here. The hatred, in the case of the 14 people that were killed, they gave parties to these, like the wedding party. They were having all sorts of parties and celebrations for these two that got married. They were like friends. The level of hatred that's going on, that's unbelievable, and we have to get to the bottom of it. And whether you want to say it or not, we have a president that refuses, but you can say radical Islamic terrorism. It's there. It's there. And we have to get to the bottom of it. And you can't, and I said, call temporary ban, we have to do it. The word is temporary. We want to be able to solve the problem. But you can't solve a problem if you're not willing to address the problem, or if you're not even willing to call it by its name. And I've had friends of mine who have problems, and they called me up, and not in all cases, I will say, but I've had them call me up, good ones, really good people. They said, you've done a tremendous service, because people are now talking about it is a problem. It's a level of hatred like we've never before. I mean, when people are willing to fly airplanes into the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, and wherever the third plane was going, you had some very brave souls on that plane, as you know. But when people are willing, very brave, believe me. People don't realize, that third plane was an amazing job those folks did. They say that one was headed to the White House, they think. But when people are willing to do that, we have a level of hatred that we have to figure out, where does it come from, and we have to solve it. So when I did that, it was the same thing all over again. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, people started saying, we do have to solve it. So we have to come to grips with certain things, or honestly, we're not going to have a country anymore, folks.
No, we contacted the victims of the San Bernardino massacre and offered ones that had children, offered them scholarships to attend college, and it was an amazing response. Many of them had just recently become Christians, and they broke out in tears because they said they were looking for a Christian university for their son or daughter to attend. And we've never been a part of the establishment, so I just love watching the establishment pull their hair out as you go up and up and up. So, but that's all I have, unless you want to.
Well, I just, first of all, this group is incredible. Jerry's just looking at me, goes, these people are amazing, right? But it's true. I mean, all I can say is that we really are on the cusp of something so big. Time magazine did a cover story this week, last week, whatever. It's the most unbelievably written story. And it's talking about, this is a movement. And they say it's never happened. Nothing like this has ever happened before. And I'll go to Dallas, and we used the Mavericks Arena. Mark Cuban was great. He let us use his arena. And we had 20,000 people packed. And we go to Mobile, Alabama. We have 35,000 people. Oklahoma, we had 20,000 people twice. But we had we go, every place we go, it's like this. And it's a movement. And the Time magazine talked about it, that people are upset. but that's a nice word, and people are actually angry. But we're not angry people. We're angry because we want to bring our country back. We want to be great again. And, you know, the theme is Make America Great Again. We're going to make America great again. That I can tell you. We're going to make America great again.
And you know, the last time I saw Democrats cross the aisle to vote for a Republican, and I saw people from every demographic, from every religion, from every race come across, was when Ronald Reagan ran in 1980. And it's happening again right now with Donald Trump.
You know, just to finish, because what Jerry just said is such a good point. We are having so much overflow where Democrats are coming over and voting for us because they want to see intelligence and common sense and good things happen, and really good things happen. And we're having a tremendous overflow. The only thing I can say is that it all doesn't matter if you don't caucus on Monday. It all doesn't matter. It's just the polls don't matter. Nothing matters. The only thing that matters is the poll that's going to be taken on Monday. And if you need anything, it's DonaldJTrump.com. They'll tell you exactly where to caucus. And I'm going to the caucus. I'm going to go to 2 or 3 or 4, as many as I can go to. So I'll be there. And again, we are going to do something that's going to be so terrific. And it's I've gotten to meet so many people in large groups, small groups, and individuals. This country has amazing, amazing people. And here's one of our most amazing people. And I want to thank Jerry and his family. They're here. His whole family is here. Becky and everybody. And I just want to thank them. This is such an honor. And it's had such an incredible effect. So, Jerry, you're my friend for life, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Donald.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.